I am Sherry, 49 years old. My husband Mike and I have been married for 20 years. Last year, my son moved out of the family home for entering a college outside of prefecture, so I have more free time than before. However, I have to send money to my son, so I have started working as a part-time job. I have been a housewife since I had my son. So when I first started working, there were many things I didn't know what to do, and it was all very difficult. But recently, my opinions have often been adopted at work. I am now able to feel that I am contributing to the company and my job is rewarding.
Hey Mike, you know what? I'm gonna get a raise in my hourly wage. It's so nice to have my hard work evaluated.
I was feeling happy and talked to Mike, who's watching TV in the days. Then, which means you can live on your own.
My husband suddenly asked something that doesn't make sense to me.
Is it a...
His tone of voice was so natural, I thought I had misheard him and returned the question.
He replied, "That's just what I was going to say. I've been meaning to tell you."
He turned to me and started talking. The grin on my husband's face gave me a bad feeling.
"I've got a new girlfriend. I don't need you anymore.
My mind froze at the unexpected words.
Go get the divorce papers and marriage certificate at the city office tomorrow."
He said decisively. It was so abrupt that I had no idea what was going on.
What do you mean?
"I have a new girlfriend, so I want a divorce."
You mean you'll remarry another woman?
As the situation became clear, I could feel my body trembling.
My husband laughed at me.
"I am still hot as a man. Unlike you, who have long since abandoned women. We haven't made love for a long time anyway. What's the point of being together?"
How dare you say such a thing? It's true that we haven't made love for a long time, but it doesn't mean that I gave up being a woman. On the contrary, I don't want a sloppy, flabby, middle-aged man telling me to feel like a man. On the contrary, I do want a sloppy, flabby, middle-aged old man telling me to feel like a man. I do want to do that with you. I was angry, but at the same time, for some reason, I burst out laughing.
"I am tired, busy, and a pain in the ass."
You are the one who has been avoiding me, saying all those things. Are you? Then you said you want to live as a man from now on. You are very funny. My husband's face suddenly turned grim.
"Don't be ridiculous, bitch."
It was so unacceptable and foul-mouthed that I could hardly hear him. Then he folded his arms and slumped over.
"You're so different from Julia."
She's in love with me. She says I'm the best. She boasts that I'm the best boyfriend she's ever had. On the other hand, how about you? You're so happy about such a trivial thing, aren't you? That's a good thing. Mike was very proud of the woman he was having an affair with, Julia, and looked down on me. Julia, her name? Then Mike proudly told me the identity of the woman, Julia. She is in her mid-20s, more than 12 years younger than I am, and works in the nightlife district. She is pregnant now. Nowadays, it is not unusual for couples to be married at different ages, but a parent has a son who is about to turn 20 and had a child with another woman who is not older than him. I was going crazy with horror.
"I need love in my life, not like you. You are such a cold-hardened, moldy apple pie.
I want a love that lasts forever with a hot girl like Julia.
Otherwise, it's not worth the money."
He was talking in a curly tongue. So the point is that love is bought with money, putting aside the fact that he was getting old and shriveled.
I see. So you've switched to a young, no-sensible girl who comes on to you for money and is not afraid to have an affair with a married man.
When I pointed this out to my husband, he said,
"It's not about money. It's about love."
he spat at me and got angry.
Anyway, I'm serious. I have to marry Julia as soon as possible and make her feel at ease. You should pack up your stuff and get out of here.
Oh well, how splendidly he lined up all his own reasons. I was so stunned that I couldn't even say anything. At the same time, I found it somewhat ridiculous. I mean, how long ago did this person use the word love to describe me? I'm sure that after a while, this woman will not show any reaction to him. With time, with age, such temporary feelings will fade away easily. Or rather, I am sure that the terrible words my husband is hurling at me right now will be directed next to the woman Julia.
You are really hopeless. I should have known before we got married.
Come to think about it, I've been caring for all the housework and childcare, and you have not been helping me out like you're on a high horse. Instead, my husband started criticizing me all the time like I didn't do this or that, even though it was a time when that was the normal thing to do. But there was not even a single word of gratitude and love from him, and I, who had worked so hard, was disposable. Then he switched to a younger woman. It was beyond insane, but Mike seemed to take my words as a sign of defeat. Well then, there's no problem for both of us.
Anyway, I will write the documents on my next day off. Just make sure you have both of them ready.
He went back to his room. For the next few days, I spent sleepless nights. I couldn't stop crying in disappointment.
Still, I kept my composure, though. On the next day off, I can't believe it, but my husband invited the woman to our house.
Hi, Mrs. Sherry, I've come to take care of you.
She sat on the sofa humming a tune. The woman, Julia, crossed her legs high in the air.
As he said, she had glowing skin and was confident in her appearance.
Her behavior was very confident about her appearance. She works in the nightlife business, wearing flashy makeup. I work in the nightlife business, wearing flashy makeup and a naughty dress. Her miniskirt was so short that even I, as a woman, didn't know where to look. But I felt that she was not in love with my husband. If my intuition was right, her purpose must be. I was already prepared for a divorce then. I faced her. I had no intention of resisting, but I was caught up in her words and actions.
I said, Julia, I wondered if you started going out with Mike, knowing that he was a married man. And you call me Mrs. Sherry? You understand each other's position, don't you?
She laughed and said, I'm not stupid, you know.
Don't underestimate me, Mrs. Sherry. You are the one who is going to be thrown away. I'm gonna be Mike's slave. See, it's that simple.
She smirked at me and scorned me in a lisping tone.
Okay, I'm glad you answered so smoothly. I even got the recording right. Of course you know that I can claim alimony from you, don't you?
I showed them the recorder that recorded this conversation. She looked annoyed, her mouth agape, and said,
Baby, you said she wouldn't get involved with us. That's not what you said.
She complained to him and was so angry. Well, it's okay. He tried to calm her down.
Don't worry, I've thought of everything, gorgeous. Don't be so angry.
Baby gorgeous, their conversation really made me sick. As I frowned, my husband held out the papers.
I want you to write the divorce papers with these conditions.
There, the terms of the divorce, including alimony and pension division, were enumerated.
What? You're gonna give this woman 30 million? My portion will be reduced.
I didn't need to pursue the matter, and she was very open and honest with me. She kept repeating, it's going to be less. I was convinced. She wanted to get my husband's inheritance from his own father.
He said, well, you know, gorgeous, this includes child support for my son.
My husband, who was trying to quiet her reluctance, looked at her with a smile on his face. Even her explicit behavior seems to be seen as cute for him.
So you mean it's a severance payment? That's expensive.
I had a hard time suppressing my anger that had reached its peak. Anyway, I was convinced that my intuition was right. And if you can keep the terms of the divorce as a notarized document, then this is fine.
And please make the payment in one lump sum.
I gave the bare minimum of responses. He agreed to this condition, knowing that our conversation was being recorded.
Are you done yet?
She looked so bored during the conversation between us. We were urged by this woman to finish filling out our divorce papers.
Will you move out by the end of the month? I cancel my apartment contract soon.
I will file the divorce papers when the notarized document is done. Then I'll leave.
After saying this, she left the house while grumbling about it, like she was looking to move to this house soon. After a while, the notarization was completed and we were divorced. And just as she was waiting for it, she came to kick me out.
She said, come on, hurry up and leave here soon.
She looked so happy.
I just registered our marriage certificate. Now I am Mike's wife. This beautiful house is mine.
I reluctantly handed her the key to the front door, and at that time there was something I wanted to make sure of.
Mike is about the same age as your parents, isn't he? If you think I am an old lady, then Mike is an old man. Why did you choose such a person to marry?
I said to her. Her answer was very clear and exactly in line with what I expected.
Mike is the manager of a major company. This house was remodeled a while ago. It's near the station and a stylish house. I'll buy my kind of new furniture, and she dreamed.
Mike treats her like a princess.
He is an old man and not handsome, but he says he will buy me anything I want.
She mocked me as if to say my future is bright.
I hope you get what you want.
With a sigh, I left the house I had lived in for many years. I moved to a university dormitory. I was hired as a live-in dorm mother, which is very rare nowadays. Actually, until then, my part-time job had been in a company cafeteria. After I broke up with Mike, I decided to make a new start and explain the situation to my employer. My boss, who had appreciated my work, contacted the head office. I was very grateful for the opportunity to work at the dormitory, which was about to become vacant due to the retirement of an employee. I gratefully accepted the dormitory job. I was so glad that I had gotten my nutritionist certification. The rent and utilities are super cheap. I don't get a lot of free time to go out, but I am very happy that I got the job because it is a comfortable and enjoyable place to work. After about 3 months of living like this, I received a phone call from my ex-husband.
My mother's having a hard time. Will you help me take care of her?
I wondered what kind of person would say such a thing to me at.
You and I are already strangers now. It makes sense the young wife takes care of her.
When I pointed out the very obvious, he said,
She's pregnant. My mother seems to have dementia and throws stuff. It would be dangerous.
He said, Julia is pregnant. Does that mean it's okay for her to throw things at me? It's a great theory, but whatever.
I don't care about you anymore, and I don't want you to call me. I pushed him away so hard.
She was my mother-in-law, whom I had known for 20 years since our marriage. It was a typical mother-in-law relationship. Although we didn't have a big battle, we didn't get along so well. I was not so close to her. Besides, I had just started to live on my own and could not afford to take care of his mother elsewhere. But my ex-husband found out where I was and came to see me with that woman.
I can't do anything about it. If you can take care of her, you should give the alimony back to me. If you can't take care of her, you should give the alimony back to me.
This was another appalling statement.
I don't think I have the right to accept such a demand.
When I coldly rejected him, the woman stared at me.
You knew it and you fooled me. The inheritance I had counted on was nothing, and that he is in debt.
With her shout, the papers she had thrown at me were scattered. You were so rude to say such a terrible thing.
You just assumed that Mike had property.
I intentionally shrugged my head. Yes, when I was going through the inheritance procedures for my late father-in-law's estate, I found out that he had a lot of debts. If that was all, I could have just renounced the inheritance. However, before the procedure, Mike had canceled his father's mobile phone contract, disposed of his household goods and precious metals, and cashed them in. In the case of renunciation of inheritance, there is a law that if you do touch the property before the procedure, you will not be able to renounce. This is exactly what happened. As a result, the debt fell directly on Mike and the woman. I said triumphantly,
Mike had thrown all the troublesome procedures of inheritance to me and didn't listen to me at all. Julia, that's exactly what he did. He did that to get the money to continue the relationship with you.
You should have taught us such an important thing.
Mike complains, but that's my line.
You are the one who didn't listen when you should have. You both have to take responsibility.
What? I don't know anything about that. I didn't listen.
That woman is fuming, her face pale.
But that doesn't mean you can take the money and run away with it.
They were shouting at me hard, but I don't care.
Sounds so stupid. If you hadn't cheated on me, you wouldn't have had to make money for the affair. You could have renounced inheritance. I have no doubt that you are the cause of this situation.
Thus,
He grunted and backed away as if flinching.
You knew he was married. You had a relationship with him for his fortune. You even had a child with him and you kicked me out. Julia, you are in that position you wanted to be in right now.
I told her whose age is old enough to be my daughter.
If this is gonna happen, I don't need this old guy.
I still have something to say.
Do you remember the notarized divorce papers? I received alimony, pension division, and child support for my son from Mike. But you know what? I can claim alimony from you in addition to that.
What? You are saying 30 million isn't enough? You are so greedy.
I can't believe that. She screamed and cursed me.
I was going to forget about it if you left me alone.
But you keep coming up with all these nonsense theories, telling me I have to take care of her and that I should pay back the alimony. I lost my patience with all of this.
As I told her that I still have a recording of the conversation I had with her and her husband about the terms of the divorce.
And I was serious about filing a claim for alimony, Julia ran away without looking back. As I watched her back, I turned to Mike, who was still standing there.
I wonder if she can run that fast when she is in the last trimester of her pregnancy. Is that true? I mean, she ran away, but where is the love?
Mike gulped at my question.
I'm sorry, Sherry. Please come back to me. I could see him pleading with tears in his eyes. He looked older.
I'm completely fine. I must ask you to leave.
Sherry?
My ex-husband, who started crying aloud, was so pitiful. But considering how he had treated me up to now, there is no need for a Buddha heart. After that, as I had predicted, she disappeared, leaving only the divorce papers behind. It seems that the pregnancy was also a lie. My ex-husband was left alone to take care of his debts and his mother. He has lost weight and become thin and thin because of the stress and overwork. I seem to be suited to my job as a dorm mother, taking care of children around the same age as my son. Lately, I have been receiving more compliments like, "You look great." I will continue to live my life honestly without vanity or deception.